How you doing today, folks? So I actually already recorded an unboxing of this knife, but I'm actually not going to post it. I felt like it wasn't very informative, and kind of just kind of sort of a fail on my part. So this is the Medford full-size marauder with the .26 inch scales, or excuse me, blade. It's an absolute big beast of a knife. This is with a heavy sculpted titanium, bronze to kind of a light blue to sort of a deep purple. Very nice job. It has this really kind of intense skull crusher right here that would do some serious damage. That's what you're looking for. Nice generous lanyard tube or cutout divot. I don't know what you want to call this hole, basically. Big, thick, stout titanium pocket clip with the Medford knife and tool logo on it. 6-shooter pivot. Nice titanium blade stops. An immediate issue I have with this knife is that they should have made this just a little bit taller, because this actually really kind of hurts. I was carrying this in my pocket and I sat down halfway on it, and this actually cut my pocket and then cut my leg. So yeah, that's kind of an issue. For the most part, I carry these in like kind of like EDC organizers, so probably won't be that big of an issue. But this is a strange oversight, given this is about a $1,300 to $1,400 knife. So I'm not really too sure about that one. As far as the actual deployment, the detent on this is very, very strong. So if you want to try to, I just want you to see my hand real quick. I'm not on the lock bar at all. You're not going to just be able to thumb flick this out. You also can't thumb roll it out. What you have to do is you have to kind of take your back fingers, pop the detent, and switch over, and then roll it out. So I failed at that a whole bunch of times. I complained about that mercilessly during the actual video. That's more user error, which is one of the main reasons why I'm recording this. Now, one thing that's not user error, this kind of frame lock, this thing is intense, right? So I like to fidget with my knives a little bit. This thing I really cannot fidget with because it requires such an insane amount of force to disengage that I have other knives that I play with all the time, and I can't even play with those because even a proper, for example, the Chris Reeves Sebenza, even this frame lock, which disengages very smoothly, my thumb is so raw that it still hurts. So lately I've been disengaging this with my left hand and then popping it like that, because I've done it so many times with my right thumb that I just can't do it anymore. It just is absolute agony. You can middle finger flick this theoretically. I've done it successfully once. I actually scared the crap out of myself because I was not anticipating it. So it can be done, just requires quite a bit of finesse. So that's definitely something you need to take into consideration. Again, the blade stock is .26, so very, very thick. It's a very big, chunky, heavy knife in the pocket. All the full-size Medfords are over 10 ounces. So if you don't like a big, heavy kind of chunk and knife, this is definitely not going to be for you. Now, I have 2XL hands, so I have very large hands. Most knives do not fit my hands. I have to put lanyard tubes on them and other things to make them where they fit. This knife, again, I'm right here. So I'm towards the end of the actual knife, but I can still very much get all 4 fingers on it, so it's a very comfortable grip. I can also choke up with this nice generous finger troll here, and then I have all this. So I can roll it up this much to where this knife actually looks sort of small in my hands, which is crazy, but the ergonomics are absolutely fantastic. If I had to rate this knife, on ergonomics alone, it's a 10 out of 10. By far. This is a DLC coated or 3V steel. 3V is very prone to rusting. So 3V, I always have to make a joke about 3V. If you look at 3V with thoughts of moisture on your mind, it will rust. It will rust for almost no reason at all. Well, there's a reason for it, but it doesn't take much. So I always will put some EDCI formula on the actual edge. So make sure this stays nice and clean. And then this will all be coated over, so it won't really be an issue as far as rusting. But normally, I'm not a huge fan of coated blades. With 3V steel, to me, it's almost a necessity. Again, you can manage it other ways, but I don't really like to baby my tools. So for me, I like to just have this DLC coated, and then I can just pretty much go to work with it and completely ignore it. I've actually had this knife for about 3 or 4 days now, and I have used it pretty extensively. It is a big piece in the pocket for sure. Again, this little, ow, Jesus, look at that. This little kind of slit right here did cut me, but it's only happened the one time. I've just started kind of being a little more mindful of it. It's actually gotten very used to it pretty quickly here, so it's not too big of an issue. But for the price of what this knife is, it's kind of not okay at all. So that is definitely a significant detractor. Now, I'm sure there's some type of mechanics involved, which, why they did this the way they did. But I mean, the Chris Reeve, for example, it's the same concept. It has this kind of sloping piece to it. So they just build it all a little bit higher. So I'm sure there are ways you can take it apart and there are ways you could build it better. For whatever reason, Greg chose to do it this way. So if it's just a little bit higher, not really an issue. But again, if you make it a little bit higher, maybe the blade stops don't disengage properly. I'm not a knife maker, so I'm not going to pretend like I know exactly why it was built this way. I genuinely believe it serves a purpose, so I'm not really going to give it too many knocks, but it does need to be mentioned because, again, it physically cut me. The lanyard tube or slit is, it really is good to go. I did have one in there. I took it out for the video, but it fits very well. It sits very nice in the pocket. I actually really enjoy this knife. The edge retention, the edge geometry is actually phenomenal. A lot of people think Medfords can't cut, and that's just not true. Now, they slice like it's nothing. A lot of people have this opinion that the PM2 is the definition of what a slicing knife should be, right? Now, the PM2 definitely cuts very well. There is resistance to it. With this, it's just an absolute laser. Even if you want a thin, little precise thing, like look, I'm just shaving this. It's just absolutely good to go. There's no resistance at all as you're cutting through things. This knife is fantastically sharp. The edge geometry is fantastic. Now, what type of sorcery Medford needed to do to make something with this much of this thick of a blade stock cut that well and end up being that thin behind the edge? Again, I'm not a knife maker, so I'll never know, but it's fantastic and it's absolutely impressive to say the absolute least. So as far as my overall opinion on this knife, I'm going to give it a 7.5, but give me 1 second here before you click off the video. Now, I give it a 7.5 primarily because of one of two reasons. One, this is the more minute one, being this piece right here. Okay, this is physically cut me. This is something that should be fixed. But again, there's probably reasons why it's there. Secondly, the detent on this knife, for it being as big as it is I understand why it's so heavy. It's such a big, heavy blade that it has to be taken into consideration. You don't want it to fall out of your pocket, or to fall out of the handle and stab you. But the detent on this, just the way it's designed, you should not have to put your fingers behind there to pop it and then roll it. Now, everybody says a Medford takes time to break in, and I do definitely understand that. That being said, I have plenty of full custom knives that have a break-in period, and the break-in period is not quite that heavy, so that really needs to be mentioned. The third thing is that this lock bar, this is really kind of unacceptable to me. Now, I don't really think that over repeated use, this lock bar is going to somehow become less stiff. I think this is always going to be this way, and you're always going to have to shove your finger in there and forcibly disengage it, and again, put yourself in pain. Not over time, I'll develop calluses. This will hurt less and less and less, but still, that should not really be something that is required in order to enjoy a knife. You should not have not only a break-in period of the knife, but of the person in order to enjoy a piece. That, to me, is kind of something pretty bad. So for those reasons, this is going to be a 7.5. For my first impressions, to be clear, this is not an actual review. I am not one of those channels that are going to unbox something, carry it for a couple of days, and say, hey, I know the depths of what this is as a piece. I don't. This is a first impression. I've had this for, again, 3 or 4 days. I've carried it for 3 or 4 times. I've used it heavily in those times, so I have a pretty decent idea of what it is. But again, the break-in period is not done. These problems might, and I really hope, completely eliminate themselves. So, again, ergonomics, 10 out of 10. Blade geometry, 10 out of 10. Action is where it has to be knocked. But this is a absolutely fantastic knife. I actually really enjoy this. Does it have its problems? Yes. Personally, this to me is a two-handed opener. That's not really a bad thing. And then again, I just switch thumbs when I want to close it because this just hurts too much. So as far as being a fidget knife, it's not really that. My Praetorian, again, also a big thick knife. It's not 2.6, but it is still a pretty decently chunky sized knife. Can roll straight out, disengage, drop down, 0 issues. So do I have a dud? I don't know if it's just a design choice. Maybe this just has a much heavier break-in period. I don't know. That's why this is a first impressions video. Now, aesthetic-wise, again, 10 out of 10. Handle-wise, 10 out of 10. Blade geometry, 10 out of 10. This is a fantastic knife. And the only reason why I get the 7.5 is because the piece is listed, which again, might not be an issue down the road. Now, if this isn't really speaking to you as far as the budget price, if it costs too much money, if these issues are too much for you, that's why I'm here. I'm trying to give you an honest opinion on a very expensive knife. A lot of channels will kind of like to sugarcoat things because they don't want to create controversy, or they want to, appeal to more makers to get free stuff. I don't play that game straight up. I don't give a fuck. I will give you the most truthful, honest opinions, period. And if someone that doesn't like it, then that's fine. You can unsubscribe, you can stay online, you can do whatever you want to, but I'm gonna keep on doing what I'm doing. Now, with all that being said, I actually, again, really enjoy this knife. So this is a matter of personal preference. My preference might not be your preference. Now, that's going to be it for today. So as always, if you like the video, please like, subscribe to the content. I do appreciate it very much. Thank you all once again for all your likes, your subscribes, your comments, your messages. It really does mean the world to me. I'm a very small channel. I don't really treat this as a job. I'm not going to do all the little hyperlinks and everything else. I just don't care enough. So for the people that I have who have found me from one way or another, I just appreciate you all very much. I'll probably stay a small channel, and I'm okay with that. I'm not trying to get rich, and I'm not trying to be some massive piece to it. I'm just happy talking to you guys and enjoying knives with you all. So thank you for your time. As always, I love you all very much, and please do me just this one favor, and do the best you can to be a better person tomorrow than you are today. Thank you so much for your time. In case you're wondering about the music, we have some Tyler Chillers playing in the background. I'm not a monetized channel at all, so good luck with that, YouTube. Fucking deal with it. Take care, folks. Bye.